Welcome to Game Savers Podcast, your next-gen gaming podcast for news, reviews, previews, impressions, analyses, and roundtable discussions involving past, present, and future games. My name is Tony, and today I'm joined by my co-host.
I'm Wayne, and I still love video games.
He still loves them. Alex didn't take our advice from the last few episodes, and he forgot to save his game, so unfortunately, he will not be with us today, but we wish him well and hope he gets feeling better soon, and he'll be back next week. So I guess we could start off by thanking the tribe. Thanks for making the Game Savers podcast everything it is to date, because so far we have listeners in 42 countries. We've attacked all 6 continents. How cool is that? Just absolutely mind-blowing. So again, thank you to everyone out there that's listening to this now. We appreciate that. Today's banter session is really just going to be focused on news, updates, and everything in between. We'll talk about some of the games coming out in March of this month. We'll talk about some of the PS Plus games coming out, the Xbox Live Gold free games, what we're playing as well. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the news and recent topics that have been happening in the gaming realm. Wayne, you got anything to say before we dive in?
No, just glad to be back in the podcast. Glad to be talking about video games, and glad for a bit of company and lockdown. So
it's a beautiful. This is the best part about COVID for me too. Like, if nothing else, this is it. So, let's chat about the March releases. So there's a few noteworthy ones. I think we got over 40 titles overall coming out across all the consoles and PC. But some of the noteworthy ones that we got coming out this month are Apex Legends coming to the Switch on March 9th. We've got Stubbs the Zombie and Rebel Without a Pulse coming out on March 16th. Not a remake, not a remaster. They're just bringing out the old game basically. Overcooked All You Can Eat Edition, which is like Overcooked 1 and 2 with all of its DLC, is coming out on March 23rd. If you like party games, check that out. Monster Hunter Rise is coming out on March 26th. It Takes Two, maybe you remember seeing that trailer here shortly a while back, that local co-op looking game. That's going to be coming out on March 26th. That's published by EA and made by Hazelight Studios, if you remember Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. And then Kingdom Hearts is coming to PC in its entirety on March 30th for the first time. That's a packed March we've got so far, right?
it is. There's a lot of games. I mean, I don't think there's anything. There's no must buys this month. It's not like, I think May is pretty stacked with a lot of titles that you just don't want to be missing. March, not so much, but there's definitely a few that I'm interested in. The first one you mentioned it there, It Takes Two. I love couch co-op. I think more games need to be focused on couch co-op. It is so much fun sitting down with a friend and playing a game together, not doing it over the internet.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Gosh, It Takes Two.
It looks like a game. It looks like a game designed for couples. I mean, the girlfriend played loads of games together. So yeah, I'm definitely on board for that. Just curious, I haven't seen a price for it yet. If it's like a sort of a mid-range price, yeah, definitely I'm on board. I'll buy it straight away. If they're looking, 40-50 pounds for it, yeah, I think I'll hold off for the sales.
Same. I'm not sure what the pricing looks like so far, but that's the same studio that brought us Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, which I know was not a $60 game when it came out. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was in the $20 range-ish or something like that. But same, local co-op, great game. This one looks like it's promising, has a lot of variety. I know we were blown away by the trailer for this. Whatever it's been, gosh, a couple months ago now. It seems like this happened really fast, or lockdown is just, like made time.
Time has no meaning anymore.
If nothing else. I'll say another I'm stoked for too. It's coming out the same day. This is what a coincidence, but Monster Hunter Rise is coming on the Switch, and that looks just better every time I see it.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see that follow up to Monster Hunter, and just that I don't think they've ever had a bad game, so this will be interesting.
Yeah, the other one I'm really keen on is a game called Maquette. It's actually on PSN Plus. The 4 free games or whatever you get every month.
Yep,
it's one of those. It's a first-person puzzler, and I love first-person puzzlers ever since the Portal games came out, and then there's been so many games that have tried to jump on that bandwagon and copy what they do. I don't think anyone's pulled it off quite as well as Valve have, but there's still plenty of good games worth playing. The Talos Principle, if you haven't played that, great game. Really, really taxes your mind. I mean, that is a real deep thinker. This one, the principle
probably not for me then to be like, if you got to think, well, I'm already out. That's it.
The principle for this one is recursion, and there's always that famous expression: to understand recursion, you must first understand recursion. But basically, the world that you're in exists within the world that you're in, and there's bigger ones and smaller ones, and if you change something within the tiny world in front of you, it has the same impact on the bigger world around you. It's a very hard to explain concept, but it looks really, really interesting. I don't actually have PSN Plus, but I'll pick up at least a month's worth to get
Well,
that.
let me tell you, you're missing out because let me tell you what is on PS Plus, the free games of March 2021. Before we dive into the Xbox stuff, our picks for the month, what we're playing, and then, news coming up way later. But the PS Plus free games of this month just got announced in that big, PS Sony state of play that happened last week. And they were like, hey, just so you know, you fuckers are getting a freebie in the form of Final Fantasy VII Remake, the PS4 version. So that's huge. You're also getting Remnant from the Ashes, Maquette, like you were just talking about, and then a VR game called Farpoint. So a lot of variety there. God, you're getting a VR game, you're getting some other stuff. I think Sony's firing on all cylinders there, it looks like.
Absolutely, definitely, and especially if you contrast that towards the Xbox. And I'm not going down any Sony pony route or trying to be a fanboy of anything, but the PlayStation games this month just trounce the Xbox games. The four Xbox games were games I don't think I've even heard of, except for maybe Metal Gear Slug 3 was one of them.
Yep.
What was the other three were?
Yeah, and I'll list those off here in a second too. But gosh, the Final Fantasy VII remake has fucked up my schedule because, as you know, I had just beat Final Fantasy VII, the original version that came out back in I think 1997. Because we plan to do a comparison between a Final Fantasy original and then the Final Fantasy remake on an upcoming podcast. But during the State of Play trailer that came out last week, they were telling us that the PS5 update with the full 4K, 60 hertz, all that fun stuff is going to come out here in June or July. And I thought, well, damn it, if I'm going to experience Final Fantasy VII Remake for the first and probably only time, should probably just wait until this update because
Definitely. And there's some extra content in there as well. I think there's a character called, and don't quote me on this because I might get this wrong. Is it Yuffie?
That's it. You're out. That's it.
Is it not?
No, I'm kidding. That was close. Yeah, it's Intergrade, I think, is the DLC that's coming out.
Yeah. I do think a bit of a dick move on Sony's point there because you can only get that extra content on the PS5 version. I kind of believe if you put a game out and then you're going to release DLC for it, put the DLC on the platform that the game came out on, especially considering how difficult it is to get PS5s at the minute. There might be people want to upgrade and play that content and they're kind of locked out of it. They just can't.
Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of huff and puff over that just yet.
No.
But gosh, yeah, I mean, it is kind of strange that Final Fantasy VII Remake came out on the PlayStation 4. It's getting a PS5 upgrade, but the DLC for it is going to be only on the PS5.
Yeah.
Is the summary of that picture. But maybe that's just, we're in that weird transition between generations now, and you're going to see some of that funky looking stuff that just, rubs people the wrong way. But I guess what can you do? Shoot.
The other note in that front as well is you said there that Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming to PS Plus. If you get it on PS Plus, you don't get the PS5 upgrade. You're stuck with the PS4 version, which I don't think that's as bad.
Yeah, that's not a stinker, right? I mean, it makes sense.
You're getting a very recent AAA game as part of your cheap monthly subscription. So I don't think you've any right to complain there. If you really, really want that, the super 60 FPS version.
Yeah, I think that's timeline too, right? Because that doesn't even come out till June, July. So I mean, if it's free game of this month, of course you're not getting the goddamn PS5 version because it doesn't exist yet. So I guess that's how that works. But you mentioned the Xbox Live Gold free games. I'm going to suffer through this with all of you game savers and just hear me out on this one for the Xbox Live Gold free games of March 2021. We've got Warface Breakout. We've got Vicious Attack, Llama Apocalypse, Metal Slug 3, and Port Royale 3.
Who cares?
I couldn't even read that. That's like, man. I mean, I'm not going to dog on Microsoft here, Xbox, and man, like that's tough. And Sony's putting out that on PS Plus, and you answer with these titles. That's hard to compare the two. It's
I know
apples
that,
and oranges.
Xbox's golden horse at the minute is Game Pass. If that's where you expect the good games to be, I really think it's time to retire games with gold. Especially if that's the commitment you've got to it. Just
Yeah, and I've never seen a social media post within the last year from Microsoft saying, "Here's our Xbox Live, gold free games of the month," and people were like, "Woo!" The first emojis and reactions are always, "What the fuck is this?" And it's anger and just like pure hatred coming out in the comments. And I can't say I blame anybody for that, but I guess they're really trying to push that Game Pass model.
I
So
think I've seen a lot of people. They're even past the anger stage. They're just like, bury this, just bury it. We are done. No one cares anymore.
get
We're
it
done
over
with it.
with. I mean, have you even
Yeah.
heard of some of these? I have not. I mean, I've heard of I think Metal Slug 3, but the rest of them, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I've heard of Metal Slug 3. The Warface one, I assumed initially that it was some sort of Warframe package. But no, it's something else entirely. The Llama game, I seen gameplay of and just I was a little bit stumped by the whole thing. I just what's going on? Why are they even bothering?
The only time llamas have been great in video games, at least in my opinion, is when they were in Viva Pinata, which, rest in peace to that franchise. But whew,
Well, there's the whole Jeff Minter thing. He ran a company called Llamasoft, and he used to be obsessed with llamas. I don't know if this game has anything to do with them or if it's been influenced by Jeff Minter's history, but I don't care. That's the only thing that keeps coming to mind every time I see these games is like I don't even care. I mean, we've talked about this for long enough. I think we
uh,
should move on. I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
it hurts that bad. Well, in that case, gosh, we got the news coming up here on the next episode you're going to hear shortly, but let's chat about what we're playing so far this month, Wayne, in March 2021. It's
Right.
early March. We're coming off of a hot holiday season. This is kind of that weird time of the year where not a lot of games are coming out and people are catching up on their backlogs, but we'll just go down the list here. What the hell are you playing?
Every podcast we record, you ask me this question, and every podcast I say that I'm playing Assassin's Creed
It's because
Valhalla.
you put like what 500 fucking hours into it at this point.
I think it was 104 in total, and I can
Oh,
gladly say that until the DLC comes out, this is the last time I mentioned it because I'm finished it, I'm done with it, and I'm so glad to be done with it. So all I'm going to say is that this is probably my last Assassin's Creed game. I don't think I'll buy another one. I am
oh,
so burnt out on that franchise,
whew.
and it's just it is a slog and it is a chore to play. So I'm done with it, and I'm not even going to talk about it anymore.
Uh,
Having finished that, I've been trying to dig into my backlog, but I thought once that's done, I thought I'd treat myself to a new game. So I went out and bought Super Mario 3D World, which is the re-release of the Wii U game on the Switch.
yeah,
But
that came out last month. Yep.
I did play that on the Wii U, so I was buying it because it comes with this Bowser's Fury. I don't want to call it DLC because it's not DLC, but it feels like DLC. It strongly feels like it. I suspect it was going to be DLC on the Wii U, and this is something that got shelved, and then they've brought it back for the Switch. Put it on this morning, and the credits rolled at about 5 p.m. roughly. It's short. It's very short. I knew it was going to be short. I didn't think it'd be as short as it was. It's a lot of fun. It's Mario. It puts a smile on my face. The music's exceptional. The level design's great. It controls perfectly. It is just everything we love about Mario in a nice little small package that won't take you too long. Is it worth your 40 or $50 for if you're just going to play that? Probably not.
Is it
Unless
only
you're going
40
to
or
sit
50
back.
bucks, or is this the standard Nintendo
I,
$60?
yeah, that is the standard price, but I paid £40 for it on Amazon. I don't reg-
$60 for this? What?
yeah, but I mean, you're getting if you haven't played Super Mario 3D World, then you're getting great value for money. If you're only buying it for Bowser's Fury, then I don't know, maybe go halfers with a friend, and someone has it for 1 week, someone has it for the next week. I got the whole idea is that there's 100 different shines, cat shines they call them,
Yep.
across this one open level. And after you get 50, you can go fight Bowser. And I don't think that's a spoiler that you fight Bowser at the end.
Well, no surprise there. It's a Mario game.
And then the credits roll. But there's another 50 to get. So I'm up to 60 at the minute. And just because normally I would normally retire it, I would say that's me done. I've played enough. I've enjoyed it. I've got my money's worth. But I'm not sure I have with this one. So I'm going to try and 100% it. I'm going to try and get all 100 shines. But
You know, I was
Yeah.
thinking about that the other day with these games. You know, when you 100% a Nintendo game, there's really no badge of honor to it other than for yourself, and maybe some friends if they're aware of it. But
Mhm.
I would love some kind of, maybe not achievement system necessarily, a trophy system, but Nintendo's own thing to recognize that, hey, I have 100%ed, you know, Breath of the Wild or this game even or something, because that is a huge accomplishment. That's
I
not easy to do.
I couldn't agree with you more. Definitely. Well, one thing that just jumped to mind was the Korok seeds in
That's the first thing
Breath
I
of the
thought of too. Yeah,
Wild,
when I see people
and
like,
I
"Hey, I got
don't.
all the Korit seeds in Breath of the Wild," like, fucking how?
Yeah,
What?
but
Like,
if there was an achievement for that, I know I would go for it. But I would not want to be doing that. That's long work. That's Assassin's Creed style chore work. You know.
I don't think I have that kind of motivation without getting some kind of achievement or trophy. You
Exactly.
know, like,
Exactly. Yeah.
which
I
is a
mean,
shame.
I said this before back in the GameCube era. Whenever I finished games, when the credit rolled, this came out, it went back in the box and it went on eBay or whatever. Achievements and trophy systems have pushed me to play on and do more, and do those side quests as well, and get all those collectibles and stuff. And I personally definitely get a lot more money, a lot more value out of a game because of those achievement systems. And I know a lot of people think they're pointless or whatever, but that's my main thing. That's my grab from them, is that they push me to play more of a game than I naturally would.
What's
Uh,
your gamer score right now, if you don't mind me asking?
it's over 180,000 on
Holy
Xbox.
shit!
Yeah,
What?
yeah, I know.
Wow, I knew it was up there because every time I see it, I'm like, I'm just not going to play this week. All right, but that
I
color me
used to
impressed.
I used to play. Me and a friend had like a competition going. This would have started around 2008, where we were trying to outdo each other, and we were going out and buying some of the worst games imaginable because we knew you could get 1,000 points in 3 hours or
I
whatever.
remember the early days of doing that too with like Burger
Yeah.
King games. Like, like that was a thing. My God.
It was a Doritos game as well, Doritos Wipeout or something like that.
Yep.
The one, but I remember remember the TV series Lost? There
Yes.
was there was a video
Unfortunately.
there was a video game based on that. Yeah. And I got to the end of that in the credits roll, and I think it's something like 970 points out of it. And I just said, I will never, ever play a video game just for the sake of achievements after playing that absolutely horrendous game. It was so bad and it was so boring that I can't do it anymore. So
That's what you
if I
get.
don't enjoy a game, I don't play it anymore. But I will kind of hunt for achievements so long as I'm having fun and so long as I'm enjoying it.
Well, let me tell you what I'm enjoying so far this month because there's a lot of them. And again, I repeat this all the time, but I do not just play one game at a time. I scatter myself between like 20 games and just can't commit. So
Mhm.
I'm still playing a lot of Valheim. Obviously, that's a recent release. Absolutely loving it. The further we get into it, if you're familiar with Valheim, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I'll try to simplify this for those that don't have a PC or may not be as familiar with it. But Valheim came out a few weeks ago. It literally took over planet Earth. It seemed like when it came out. It's got I think up to 4 million downloads so far just within its first couple of few weeks on Steam, which is a major achievement. And it's basically just a Viking open world survival game, but there's a lot more to it than that. And our little posse that we roll around with, I don't have my own dedicated server. I'm more of I guess you call it a Skogomor, something like that. If you're using Norse terminology, which is basically someone that roams from place to place, doesn't have a home, and that's me in this game. I don't have a dedicated server. I go to different friend servers with my own shit, and I'm like, "Hey, what are you buying?" I'm basically the traveling merchant to everybody, and it's not even like I have anything good to sell, but we're advancing in that game. We're exploring new lands. We're building bigger and better things. It's just a great game.
Yeah.
We keep finding new things in there that keep blowing us away, and you might see a podcast or two on that here in the future about our adventures and tales. We might just get you guys in the Game Savers tribe to come around the campfire with us and hear what that's about. But absolutely loving Valheim. Another one been playing a shit ton of Days Gone. I thought that game at first at launch when it came out 2 years ago, kind of rough around the edges. That was one of those that botched super hard, had a lot of technical errors like glitches, game breaking bugs, stuff like that. Didn't get reviewed very well either, I don't think, because of it. But they've since, kind of pulled a No Man's Sky in the sense that they've turned it around. It's a first party Sony studio. They've done really well and just been enjoying it. It's Days Gone is great. If you're into zombies, I know they're called freakers in this game, but this game is criminally underrated for zombie games.
That's pretty high up my backlog. I'm busting to play it, but I've seen that it plays way better on the PS5. So again, it's just holding off in the hope that I get, one of these fabled PlayStation 5 consoles and eventually get a crack on that.
Yeah, it's funny you said that too, because I actually waited to play this until the PS5 update came
Yeah,
out because obviously it botched on PS4. And when I saw the PS5 update came out and they gave it, the 60 frames, the 4K graphics, stuff like that, I was like, that's probably not going to make a big difference. But I guess if there's a time to play it, now's that time, right?
yeah,
And man, just absolutely what a difference those updates make. Because when you hear these updates coming out for, I think most recently, God of War got that update from Sony where here it is, another 4K 60 FPS. It doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot. It makes such a difference on the game, especially if you're playing on a nice TV monitor, something like that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, as a console gamer, I've been pretty much used to 30 frames per second, and uh, I've played things like Doom and some of the Call of Duty games that have the 60 frames per second, and you go, yeah, that's nice. But now with the new consoles, where pretty much everything is 60 FPS, it's really hard going back. I mean, at the minute, whenever me and my girlfriend play side by side on separate TVs, and she's playing Greedfall at the minute, and I keep
Oh,
looking over and just going, it looks horrible. It, the animation, everything about it just looks so stuttery once you've got used to 60 frames per second. And I know that there's probably going to be PC gamers, listening to this going, yeah, that was my life, 8 years ago when I got used
yeah,
to 60
that's
frames per
me.
second.
Yeah.
Um, I guess it's just a part of being a console gamer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I that PC part you just touched on. I PC game whole life. I think I moved into 4K, the 120 FPS, that kind of thing, and probably about it's been 5 or 6 years ago. I think we upgraded it, into that mode, and there's been no going back. But it makes a big difference seeing that on a PlayStation or an Xbox on a really large TV in your living room.
Mhm.
That's an experience I've never had before, and it just again, this game is great. Can't rave enough about how much those patches help, those updates, and Days Gone as a whole, fucking great game.
Yeah. Talking about games that we're playing, I do try to keep myself on one game at a time, but I find that just doesn't always work, especially if you want to play a horror game, because to me, it's not worth playing a horror game during the day, right? So if you're locked into that one horror game, it means you can't play anything until the
That's a
sun
good
goes
point.
down. Uh, so I've kind of set myself up at the minute where I'm allowed to play three games simultaneously. So the other two have got on the go at the minute. I'm playing the medium, which I
The
didn't get at
medium, okay.
launch. Yeah, it took me a little while before I decided to start playing that. I think I'm just past the halfway mark, and I don't want to say too much because I wouldn't mind getting a good discussion with some of the guys who've played this. I know that Alex is playing it as well. Ken, who's been on the podcast, I think he's at a similar point as me. I think it's a very good game. I don't think it's necessarily what people expected it to be. I think it's a massive step up for Bloober Games. But as I say, I'd really like to do a proper discussion about that in the future. So stay tuned for that. And then the other game I'm playing at the minute is I like to have a co-op game at any one time. And we're playing Gears 5. This is a game that myself and my girlfriend started playing whenever it first came out. Got about halfway through it, got stuck at a certain boss, but we just weren't particularly enjoying it. And we just went, you know what? Let's not bother. Just leave it. Just leave it. And I loved Gears 1 to 3, like probably one of my favorite trilogies behind Mass Effect. So Gears 4 and 5 kind of they were big letdowns to me, and I always went into them with like high expectations because it's Gears. You're expecting these really, really good games. This time I've went back into Gears and we started from the beginning again. And I think because I'm going in with lower expectations, I am enjoying it a lot more. And I think we will play it through this time. They're not
Oh.
making the games I want them to make. They're not using the characters and they're not writing the story that I personally would want from Gears. But I've kind of accepted it is what it is, and I'm enjoying it for what it is.
Do
And
you see
again,
Microsoft? Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. What were we going to
I
ask?
was I was I was gonna say, do you see Microsoft going all in on Gears of War in the future? Because I think of like Sony, where you've got so many flagship franchises you can lean on probably at any given year. Whereas Microsoft, you've only got a few. You've got, the Halos, the Forzas, the Gears of War is obviously up there with the top ones. Do you
Mhm.
see them leaning more into that, or now that they've kind of tapered off with 4 and 5, are they going to keep milking that, or
I
let
think
it
I think
go?
they will, yeah, because I mean, Gears 5 got a really good reception. As much as I wasn't keen on it, a lot of people really did like it. And then Hivebusters came out, which was the add-on for Gears 5, the single player campaign, which was only 3 hours long. But everyone I know that played that and all the reviews I watched, everyone loved that. And I think part of what they enjoyed about that was the new characters. And I hope they have an understanding that the new characters that they brought in the likes of JD and Kate and I
Who's
forget
the
the
big
other
new
guy's
one?
name.
I know there's a female protagonist now, but I honestly haven't played enough Gears 5 to, really be up to par on it.
Kate is the main one, and then JD is sort of a main character, but he's kind of in the background. That's Marcus Phoenix's son. I think the characters just don't land the way that the original ones do. You know, the likes of Dom, Marcus, Coltrane, and Bird.
Bird, yeah.
I love those characters, and a lot of people look at those games as it's just big, heavy meatheads, but there was a lot of emotion in those games as well,
There
and
was
I
a
think
brotherhood,
there
man.
was, yeah, and I'd love to see them. I don't think they can. I think they've all but retired those characters, and that's not a spoiler. No one's dead, but it's set later on. They're all quite a bit older, and it's just Gears is not about that squad anymore. But I think they need new characters. These ones that they've brought in aren't landing for me, and it's I think it's a wee bit like this might be a terrible comparison, and I might trigger some people by this, but it's a bit like the recent Star Wars movies, where you might be watching them going, yeah, these are good movies, but this isn't Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and
Whoa, are
Princess
you
Leia,
saying the most recent trilogy between 7, 8, and 9 were not the best in the entire world?
I don't even want to get into that because that is such a dicey subject. I have debated Star Wars until I was blue in the face, and I just don't want to do it anymore. I shouldn't have brought it up. I don't know why I brought that up.
Well, we'll move on from Star Wars then. I'll help you out. So, also playing some of the new Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone zombies. Obviously, this is, again, just such a weird thing because you've got this point where Modern Warfare came out in 2019. You've got the newest Black Ops Cold War that came out in 2020, but a lot of people are still playing both. It's not like a traditional COD year where everybody just kind of abandons ship and tends to move on. That's not happening here at all. You still see a ton of people going back and still playing Modern Warfare, particularly Warzone, which is now a separate piece of that umbrella. But Warzone's been doing something unique in the past couple of months where they've been doing little updates where basically you've got Verdansk, which is this huge map. Looks like it's probably in like Eastern Europe or something like that. I could be wrong, but off the coast of this map that 150 players are dropping into that just beat the shit out of each other until the last man is standing. You've got this huge cargo ship that's been slowly inching towards the map, right? And with each passing week or month, whatever it's been, it keeps getting closer and closer and closer. And finally, here within the last week, it landed on the island, and people are like, "What the fuck is this?" And you get to it, and you get into that crashed cargo ship that's now docked on land, and there's zombies in the bottom of it. You've got 150 players in there killing each other in a Call of Duty match, and now you've got AI controlled zombies in the mix as well. Not making a huge impact in there, but I think that's so impressive that you can have that kind of AI running at the same time as 150 players in a match. That to me is mind blowing and not something we see a lot of these days.
That sounds
So
really interesting. I mean, I don't like PvP particularly. I don't like Call of Duty, but you describing that sounds like something I would definitely want to play.
yeah,
It
it's mind
just sounds
blowing.
like crazy fun.
And right now, that ship, by the way, if you're going to jump on Warzone tonight and be like, hey, I want to try that out, maybe don't, because that ship is just a giant fucking kill box and everybody's like flying in there to parachute and explore. And you're probably going to die in 2 seconds if you're anything like me. But that's been a lot of fun so far this month.
Sounds like
Uh,
fun.
Other games, I guess, gosh, Hyrule Warriors. I'll skim over that because I've just been like gradually touching on it ever since it came out. Been trying to just tear through it. Still great, ton of maps, ton of content. I don't know if there's a ton of replayability in it, but still playing that. Phasmophobia, still trying to have my social life in there, playing that on PC, 4-player co-op, go out and find the ghost before it kills you. That's been fun. And then The Forest on PC, we recently started up that again, which has been another survival gem. So I guess I'm getting pulled back into that genre.
Yeah, one last game I dipped into, and this is going to sound strange considering I just said that I don't like PvP. I had a quick bash at Titanfall 2, and I forgot how damn good it is and how welcoming it is to people like me, because you can go in and you can be absolutely awful at PvP games, but there's grunts running about, and you can just go on a grunt killing spree. If anyone hasn't played the game, basically you've got, I think it's 6v6.
It is. Yep.
Uh,
It's Titanfall 2 here. It's from Respawn. It is 6v6 most matches.
6v6. So obviously those six people want to run around and murder each other, and I think you get something like 5 points for killing another player. But there's also really weak AI players running about, and you only get a point for killing them because obviously it takes less skill. But if you focus on them, it means you're still getting points for your team. If you try
That's
not
true.
to die, try and kill loads of grunts, you're getting points for your team. You feel like you're contributing and you feel like you're doing something as part of your team, and you can do well. I think one of the games I came second in the team, and that never happens for me in PvP because I'm so bad at the games. And
That's
then,
all you were doing was just running around killing the grunts.
yeah, and even no matter how bad you are, you will still get at least one Titan drop per game per round.
Yep.
So, and that's just fun, no matter what, no matter how bad you are, it
Even
is
if you
still
get like
really,
just
really fun.
completely obliterated in 10
Yeah.
seconds, like having a Titan under your control is
There was
awesome.
there was one round where I lost my Titan. I couldn't even find him, but he was running around murdering things, so I was getting points and I was happy with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is such a great game for people who struggle to get good, for want of a better phrase. And I'm definitely hoping to have a few more bashes of Titanfall 2. And it still seems to have a really good, like there was no problem getting into a lobby and getting into a game. The
Yep.
numbers are there. People are still playing Titanfall 2.
Yeah, that re-released on Steam here not too long ago, and I mean, God, I was one of those. As soon as it came from EA Origin, that program over to Steam, jumped on it immediately. Great player base. I've absolutely loved that game too. So I hope we get a Titanfall 3 in the future from whether it be Respawn or EA publishes it still. I don't care. Just give us more Titanfall because that's a great multiplayer game.
Absolutely, definitely.
Well, anything else, Sarah Wayne, before we wrap it up and head over to the news segment on the next episode?
No, that's all good from me.
All right, let's do it. So, thank you everybody for tuning in today. We appreciate it as always, and thank you for bearing with this weird schedule here on the past couple of weeks as we would traditionally upload on Wednesdays. Obviously, with Alex being sick and 5 million things going on our ends in the past couple of weeks, it's been odd. So, we'll get back on that schedule and start publishing every Wednesday again shortly. But thank you for being here this week. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, and you don't already, please be sure you go over to facebook.com/Gamesavers channel. You can find us on there. Like that page. You'll never miss an update from us. We promise we won't bombard you either. Other than that, again, if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, leave a review. Helps us out a ton. Stay tuned for the next episode if you want to hear more about the news in March. And don't forget to save your game.